What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Wall Street Rundown. I'm your co-host Billy. I got Wale with me. What's good, Wale?
What's good, man?
Man, hey, remember we were talking about Kramer last week? Kramer was telling everybody to buy.
That was everyone's signal to go short.
Bro, I said it to him like, listen, hey, if Kramer said this, make sure you guys do opposite, man. And lo and behold, like today we got a huge move to the downside. And remember, we've been talking about this a whole couple of weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. We haven't really gone anywhere if you think about it. Thinking about how the market's bound. Even with this move today, a lot of the stocks still kind of sitting a little bit either right at that November low or right above it a little bit. So we haven't really broke any major level just yet, in my opinion. If we lose that November level, I think we are gonna see some crazy, crazy sell off, in my opinion. So let's talk about that, man, because I know we've been talking about this in a while. While they've been talking about it for like since the beginning of the month, I believe you were talking about it, how we really not doing anything. We talked about some of the indicators that we're kind of looking at, that kind of like going bearish, and we even talked about it last week. It's like don't really trust this market yet. Any bullish move, you gotta be careful. You know what I mean? Don't get trapped into those, traps that get set up for you. And lo and behold, man, today we got some move to the downside. So let's talk a little bit about that, man. What happened and what you think?
Yeah, so from a technical standpoint, so let me just give you what I started seeing early in March. So early in March, we kind of have been saying it. We just been consolidating. We hadn't really seen any really like real selling.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, look at the bond markets to give you an idea of how much risk is priced into the markets.
Mm.
March 3rd, I sent an alert to our trading group. I said, this is probably a good time to start hedging your leaps and your stocks. Why? Because bond spreads had hit its widest point for the year. This was March 3rd. So we were
Yep.
preparing for this. As the war continued to escalate, as we started to see oil prices moving higher, more risk just started getting priced into the market. And those spreads continued to widen. And then from a technical standpoint, what did we see? We broke the 20-week moving averages on a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
indexes.
Mm-hmm.
We closed below the 50, no, the 200-day simple moving average on the daily on the futures. And we started to just see just more and more higher, I mean, lower lows and lower highs.
No highs. Yep.
All that combined into what we've seen is what led us to today.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I said last week, I said, there's really nothing to be bullish about, to be honest with you, with this market. And I think the icing on the cake was Kramer saying that he was bullish. So
Bro,
that just kind of made everything sell off. So
Kramer's crazy.
yeah, this is like I said, this is not the time to be trying to catch a falling knife. We're starting to get in correction territory. Nasdaq is almost 10% off the highs. Small caps are almost 10% off the highs, and at this point, to me, I think you just have to expect more selling. Now,
Yep.
again, the market is also moving based on what's happening overseas, and we don't have any control over that. You just have to listen to what the headlines are saying and make your decisions based on that. But right now, this is not a buyer's market. The sellers are really in control at this moment. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
buckle up.
Like literally buckle up because we actually have other pressures also added on top of all of those
Hmm.
things, right? So we have the war, we have the geopolitical conflicts, we have the energy crisis that we are seeing because of the war and stuff. And I'm kind of curious to see, in your opinion, when we get the CPI numbers next month, I don't know what date it is, how would that impact the market overall? Because now that's what's gonna we're gonna be counting the energy numbers from this month, right? So
Yeah,
what do you think about that?
I think if we get an elevated number, that's not going to be a good sign. Now, we got an elevated PPI number this week. We got a nasty PPI number this week.
Yeah,
It was nasty.
yeah,
And the market reacted to that.
yeah.
So, you know, typically what you see is when you see elevated PPI, chances are that could get pushed into the next CPI reading.
Mm,
So, and this was PPI from what, February?
Yeah, February.
So the PPI from March may not be that friendly either. So we're not in a good place right now.
Yep,
I will
yep.
I will say that we're not in a good place. We're still getting more companies announcing layoffs. I think CBS said they're going to announce some layoffs as well.
Mhm.
And the only thing I think that I keep saying this, I think the only thing that's keeping the unemployment numbers from really escalating is like, again, I think we've said this before when we heard about a lot of the layoffs in the past, was if people are getting severance packages and hopefully they're finding jobs before they start to show up in the unemployment numbers, or maybe they're, the gig economy by doing Uber, DoorDash, and all of those other things are helping them not show up in the data.
Right.
You know, you talk about 4.4% unemployment. I'll be honest with you, I would say that the numbers are higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the numbers are higher than that because
Yep.
the level of consumer debt continues to increase.
Increase. Yep.
Like
Yep. Yep.
it's
Yep.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yep.
So
And if you listen to Jerome, Jerome was talking about how if you look at the private sector, even up to now, if you look at all the revision when it comes to the unemployment and all this stuff, the private sector pretty much added zero jobs, like zero jobs being created, which is kind of scary, man, in this economy. You know what I mean? We have a lot of pressure on this economy. Like when I say a lot of pressure, I mean like there is pressure from all over. You got pressure from tariffs, you got pressure from the war, you got pressure from, high rising energy prices, food prices. Companies are now not hiring and employment is happening. There's so many things happening, right? So you get no growth from the economy, and you get like low unemployment. There's no job creation. Nothing is like building that. So I know you kind of talked a little bit about that. Like a few months ago, I don't think people pay attention. Stagflation, like that is happening in real time. By the time we are deep into it and you start hearing people talk about it, it's too late. We're already in it. You know what I mean? So again, let's talk a little bit about that because I really really think people are missing that point. We talked a little bit about stagflation, maybe like in 2020, 2021, going to like during the pandemic and stuff. People talked about it. That didn't really happen the way people thought it was going to happen. We got like what people call soft launch, whatever that means. But that really didn't like affect as much. But now it's like we have the perfect storm for all of these things to happen. So can you just elaborate on stagflation and the impact we're going to potentially see if that really start happening?
so stagflation is basically where you don't have any growth in the markets in the economy. No growth, but you have elevated prices.
Yep.
So when we look at how inflation has moved, I mean, it hasn't budged in a very long time. We are pretty much stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And the Fed is in a terrible situation where we keep saying this. You have to choose between, do you cut rates to hopefully stimulate more job creation, or do you hike rates to bring down inflation? And if you listen to what Jerome was talking about yesterday, I'll be honest with you, the Fed has no idea what's going on. They don't know
Nope.
what to do.
Nope.
They don't know what to do. And the safe option is to do nothing.
Yep.
That's the safe option.
Yep.
Because again, the worst thing you can do is cut rates to create more jobs, but then inflation keeps moving higher and then you have to raise rates. Or you raise rates and then unemployment continues to tick higher. And if you look at what companies are telling you, they are prioritizing AI over people.
Yep.
If they have to choose between hiring people or spending on AI, they've already made the choice. It's very clear.
Very clear.
AI over people. So this is not a backdrop that is favorable to stimulating growth in the economy, and the stock market is finally starting to show cracks. And we've been talking about the cracks. Now we're starting to see the reaction to those cracks in the market. So
Yep.
again, we don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know
Yeah.
how ugly it's going to get. But from all of the things that have been piling up over the last couple of weeks, this is not a buyer's market at this point.
It's not pretty. It is
No.
not pretty. And speaking of Jerome Powell, of course, we have the Federal Open Market Committee met this week, or the FOMC, as we all know it. I mean, they maintain the rates at what 3.5 to 3.4%, I think. They talked about, elevated inflation and some of the key takeaways, man. They're gonna hold the rate steady. Like like Wale said, it's like they don't know what to do right now. They're in a position where it's like they have no idea which direction to go. You don't want to raise the rates too early and something happens. You don't want to lower it too far, too fast, and something else happens. You know what I mean? So some of the key takeaways, I guess, rates being held steady, inflation concerns. I mean, they definitely are seeing there's elevated in inflation. Some of the economic outlook, they continue to balance like risk and economic activity and trying to figure out exactly how to look further in the future and see what's how the economy going to look like. Policy projection, the dot plot. If you guys don't know the dot plot, go look it up. But it indicated reduced expectation for rate cuts. What that mean is, I don't know how many do we plan for this year. Was it three or was it four?
I think they came into two. Now I think it's possibly
Down to
one.
one, possibly
Now it might be down to zero,
zero.
because one of the things I will point out is if you look at their summary of economic projections, the Fed's median forecast for 2026 PCE inflation rose, which means that they are expecting higher inflation. So again, from a rate management standpoint, you cannot cut rates if you're expecting higher inflation. That's
Mhm.
just not how it works. So if you're expecting higher inflation and you are also seeing job deterioration, you're in a bad position if you're the Fed committee member. You're in a
Yep.
bad position. Another thing I also want to point out is the 10-year yield hit 4.38% today.
A little scary.
That's not a good place. It's not a good place to be at. So, like I said, I don't know how ugly it's gonna get, but I'm expecting ugly. And I'm like I said, this is just, you just have to let the market just bleed out. Just let it bleed out. If you're looking for opportunity, I think you need to be making your list of when you want to, or companies you want to possibly be a part of when this thing turns around. But I just don't see it turning around, at
Nope.
least for the next couple of weeks. No.
Nope. Nope. I mean, it's we're gonna need some type of a miracle to see some buyers come in, and I can tell you guys what that miracle is gonna be. I think if people can hear that the Iran war or some type of deal has been made, I think that can potentially open up some opportunity for more buyers to come in because we are seeing some stock that's dropping for no reason. Like there's stock that shouldn't be dropping, but we see it pulling back because it's just an overall sell off of the market, right? There's some stock that shouldn't be impacted by this, but they are getting impacted because it's just the market just being overreacting to some of those things. Now, what I'm gonna look at is to see what's gonna happen over the next few weeks. If this war is really gonna drag on for a lot longer, it is gonna be a problem. Unless we come up with some type of deal with that Iran is happy about, the U.S. is happy about, Israel, all the other countries are happy about, this is not gonna happen. And as you guys know, at the US, we don't like to be bullied. So if we feel like being bullied, I don't think there's any deal gonna come out of this. So buckle up because I don't know, man. They said it's gonna be a quick war, but the way we see it going, I don't know. I don't know, fam.
No.
We might be in this for the long, long haul. It might be a slow bleeding. You know what I mean? And you never
And
know. Maybe at some point it becomes like one of those wars that just happen, kind of like Ukraine and Russia, that just happen in the background where nobody really like paying attention too much to it. But the way Iran is firing back and actually being strategic at how they target targets and stuff, we might be in this for a little while. So
I keep forgetting Ukraine and Russia are still fighting.
that's what I'm
And
saying.
and this is what, four years later?
4 years later. 4 years later.
Jesus.
That's why I was like, maybe it will become one of those unforgotten war that people just like every now and then we hear about a bomb going somewhere and then,
Yeah, I think with this one is different because this is directly involving the United States. I
yeah,
think that this will be a lot different because with Ukraine and Russia, it was just the United States supplying Ukraine to defend itself.
yep,
Now you got Trump talking about sending more troops. And I
yep,
think the thing that people are waiting to see is, do they actually start putting boots on the ground?
yep,
And if they
yep.
start putting boots on the ground, whatever that ends up being, I mean, I don't know. but I'm not a
Yeah.
war expert. I'm not an expert in geopolitical conflict. So we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out. And again, this is one of those things where you just don't know what's going to happen. There's
Right.
no way to like, there's no way to like sit there and prepare for what's going to happen. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like I said, from a technical standpoint, everything looks bearish.
Yep. Yep. So keeping an eye on it. Again, we talked about the November low. We're sitting right there in some stocks. Some stocks have blown through it. So keeping an eye on that number, especially on the major indexes, like the SPX, the ES, the NQ, the Dow. Keeping an eye on those because those will tell you the indication of where the direction of the market overall is going. So again, we're sitting at a very, very critical level right now. So we will see what happened over the weekend. If some crazy news come out and then we open up on Sunday night and everything is just deep in the red, then you guys know exactly what happened. But we are really sitting at a critical level right now. Now, let's move on to NVIDIA, man. Jensen Huang, man, projected a $1 trillion in cumulative revenue through 2027. Now, one thing I like about Jensen is like he doesn't like to overshoot. Because if you guys remember, I think it was last year, I think he projected like $500 billion, right? And
Hmm.
they cruised through that number. It wasn't a hard reach for them to get. So now he's like, oh, maybe we're actually gonna hit a $1 trillion. So again, I like the fact that he knows not to overshoot. It's almost like he's the opposite of Elon. Elon's like, we're going to the moon. We're gonna put stuff on the moon tomorrow. In the next 2 hours, we're gonna have robot all over the world. You know what I mean? That's how Elon talks. He will get things done, but it's probably going to be way past the timeline that he put together. But I feel like Jensen Huang has an idea of how he wants things to kind of run. So let's talk a little bit about that, man. That $1 trillion in revenue through 2027.
Yeah, so that's a big number. That's a very, very, very big number.
And revenue too. That's crazy.
And if I'm not mistaken, that number does not include any sales to China. I could be wrong, but we don't know. But when I'm looking at all of the details behind it, the thing that I start to think about is if there's one stock that you want to own, if we do get a major pullback, this is probably the one that you want to be a part of.
Yep.
This is probably going to be the number one stock because if you look at what they're basically saying is like again they're building the foundation behind a lot of where all of these AI models are going to start to build out in the future.
Mhm.
Another thing that you also have to start thinking about um, when you look at what they were talking about during their conference, they talked about a lot of different partners that they're working with to put together all of this whole build up. Because remember, NVIDIA is just the chip designer. Obviously, we know TSMC is the big head honcho when it comes to manufacturing and actually building out the um, the actual GPUs. But man, they mentioned a lot of different partners as far as the entire like spider web of how this thing is going to get built out. So, I gave my investment group a couple names that they should be on the lookout for that a lot of people don't even know about or haven't heard of. I haven't built a thesis around them just yet, but my thing is the way I look at it is I kind of look at it with VRT, right? Remember what happened with VRT when they started partnering with NVIDIA? I mean, that stock has just gone parabolic
Yep.
since then,
Yep.
right? So I'm trying to find out who are going to be the key partners for NVIDIA when it comes to this build out. Because if they're making $1 trillion of revenue through 2027, there's a couple $1 billion out there for a lot of other companies.
Mm-hmm.
And until we start hearing the hyperscalers pull back on their AI spend, I'm going to sit here and continue to be in the camp that the spending will continue. Obviously, NVIDIA is going to be the biggest beneficiary, but I'm also going to be looking for other names that are also going to, benefit from this build out because it's happening, right? Regardless of how this war ends and what happens with this war, this is the AI build out's not going to stop.
It's not gonna stop.
I think we've confirmed that it's not going to stop. So, you know, that's the number one place that I would be looking at. And I think you reacted to the article I sent you about Japan and the US.
Yes. Yes.
That's
That's a big
another
one.
that's another big opportunity to look at.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep.
we've been saying nuclear is going to be key and critical for the powering the AI future. And as we keep moving through the year, we just keep getting more and more and more
Yep.
confirmation about what's happening in the background. So
Yep.
again, don't um, don't 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 be mad because we told you where to look when opportunity comes. So
Yep. Yep. And it's gonna happen. Is it like I think we mentioned is like nuclear is needed, and we gave you guys the thesis behind it. Like we don't see any other type of energy unless if you have vibranium or something. I don't know. I don't see any other type of energy that you can bring today that will help solve all these issues when it comes to power and all the power grid and all this stuff. I don't see any viable solution right now. You know what I mean? Unless we discover some type of new mineral, some type of new source of energy, nuclear is our best option right now. You know, and yeah, that article you sent me, man, is like it's huge, and it didn't make the news a lot. Like nobody really is talking about it as much. The deal with Japan and all this stuff. I think everybody's gonna focus on that whole joke that Donald Trump made with Japan Prime Minister, but people are not focusing on the deals that came out of that conversation. There's some big news came out of that. You know, so if you guys are paying
that was a wild
attention,
comment though.
yeah, it was.
That's a wild comment.
I mean, I gotta admit, that man is quick with it. Like, I gotta admit, like he knows how to come back really quick. I don't know how he does it, but that
He
was
might
wild.
he might have a future in stand up when it's all said and done.
I'm just saying, man. I was like, damn, it was bad, but it was good and it was timely. It was like, oh, you
Yeah.
didn't tell me about the Iran war. You didn't tell me about this. Like, dude, what?
Oh man, I didn't see that coming. That came out of left field. That came
And
out of left
I
field.
think people in the room didn't know what to do. Like, should they laugh? Should they
Exactly,
like gas?
exactly,
Like,
exactly, exactly.
he hit people really really hard, and it's like it was just an off the wall comment. But again, like if you look at the deal that came out of there, though, that's a lot of money that Japan is investing in the U.S. You know what I mean? There's a lot of money. So keeping an eye on that, especially when it comes to the energy and all this stuff. I do want to go back to Nvidia real quick. Nvidia's actually just came out with this. They have this AI project called OpenClaw, which is a major open source autonomous AI agents platform. It that goes beyond just a traditional chatbots. If you think about chatbots like ChatGPT or the Claude and all these different things, they're open chat bots, right? They don't really do anything unless you prompt them to do. What NVIDIA is actually working on is this autonomous chat bots that actually can do stuff for you without you having to ask them. If you want a reservation to be made for you, you just got to tell them to make the reservation, give them whatever restaurant, whatever preference you want. They'll actually call the restaurants, make a reservation for you, send you notifications that the reservation is being done. If you want to be able to answer phone calls, if you wanted to call somebody and make a sales call, like that's the type of world that NVIDIA is trying to move into. Like we have this one direction chat when it comes to chat GPT, but what if we make this actually an interactive thing where I don't have to wait to tell my agent to do something? They already know what's going on in my calendar. Go ahead and set up the task for me already, and let me get into my meeting and be able to have all the stuff that I need already without me having to like prompt it, right? So that's what NVIDIA is actually doing. And the crazy thing is they made that an open source. What that means is it's open for anybody. They took away the competition, basically. If you want to come in there and if you guys go look at some of the open sources, for example, I think Mozilla Firefox, I think that's an open source thing. What that means is just basically like developers can come in if they feel like there's something they can fix or they find a vulnerability, they all come together, they can identify it, find the fix, put it together, and be able to kind of like fix it and stuff. So you have a community of people that have a interest in making sure that this thing doesn't fall apart. Now, on top of that, they built this new thing called Nemo Claw, which is they call it enterprise grade version of OpenClaw that layers NVIDIA software stack and tools on top of the platform. So they are actually going to this is crazy. So they give you an open source, but they build a app or some type of another infrastructure on top of that that uses nothing but Nvidia's chip, tools, all of that stuff. You know what I mean? What that mean is, if this thing really blow up, you will have to come to Nvidia if you want to build anything else on top of it. So Jensen is like thinking like 5, 10 years down the road. He just eliminated all the competition. Because if you think about it, like if you can bring everything in house, you don't have to rely on suppliers to get your chip, to get your data, to build your data center, to supply you all these different things, coding and all that stuff. You basically own the market, man. That's what Jensen's doing. So Nvidia is actually going to become one of those very, very, very super, super giant companies in no time. So and whenever a company becomes that big, they start buying everybody else, and that's how they become bigger and bigger. So we're cheering for them right now, but I could promise you down the road they're gonna become the evil company that we all gonna be like, like Amazon, like they're buying, which they are. So again,
Yeah.
that's
It's
gonna be
gonna
very, very important.
yeah, it's gonna be hard to uproot anybody that starts with NVIDIA because and you keep hearing about all of these other companies trying to build their own chips, like, Google's building their own chips.
No,
I think Facebook was building their own chips. Facebook probably could have spent more money on their own chips had they not wasted $80 billion on the metaverse.
they just wrote that thing off like it's nothing.
$80 billion down the drain for nothing.
Wrote it up like it's nothing.
Nasty. So you keep hearing all of these other companies like, trying to, again, not have to be too dependent on Nvidia, but I think
Mhm.
Jensen is making it where you're not gonna have a choice.
Nope.
Like especially if you have a level of performance that you're used to, you're not gonna want to downgrade from that level of
Right.
performance.
Right.
Like
Right.
you're not. So
Right.
I mean, he knows what he's doing, man,
He
and it's
knows.
it's
He
it's
knows.
it's 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 really eye opening to see. And despite the announcement, Nvidia sold off, but this is
Yeah.
going to be one of those things where if we have a major correction, this is probably one of the names you want to be a part of on the way back up. So
Yep. Yep. I doubt we'll ever see Nvidia below 100 again, like we did what last year in April or when Liberation Day happened.
$88 Nvidia.
I don't think it's ever coming back to that again. We might see it below 150, 160, maybe below 140, but I don't know if we ever see it below 100 again. You
Yeah,
know,
that
so
was that was like an opportunity of a lifetime.
a
Now,
lifetime,
if we ever see $88 Nvidia again,
bro. Buy the sink, throw the house,
yeah, I throw the whole house at that thing.
get everything and just throw it in there. So
Yeah.
yeah. But let's talk about this interesting news, man, from SMCI. So SMCI sold off on Friday. You gotta listen to this. So SMCI fell on Friday on reports that one of the AI hardware company's co-founders and two others has been arrested over illegal shipments of chip components to China. Yi Cheyenne Wally Liao was charged with orchestrating the scheme to send US assembled servers that include AI chips made by NVIDIA to China, directly violating US import control laws. Listen, this is something that you do not want to do as a company, to violate anything that the government put, especially the US government. You will be labeled a risk. And once you label the risk, guess what? Investors are going to flee from you. They're going to flee from you because now SMCI, I think they find themselves in like a really, really bad place. Once you get labeled as a risk, all your government contracts are gone. Your investors are going to get hurt. Nobody's going to want to invest in your company anymore because now it's like you're not really going to be able to sell to anybody. And this is really, I don't know what they was thinking. I don't know. Maybe they got away with it before. Honestly, I think there's no way you're gonna try something like this if you never got away with it before. I think they got away with it maybe like once or twice, and the third time, like, yeah, we got you this time. So let's talk about that, man, because this is major.
So this it almost sounds like something you hear from a movie. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and let's be honest, this is not the first time we've heard some shady stuff happening with SMCI.
Mhm.
Remember when their auditor quit
Yep. But the books, yep.
because because they were kind of nervous about what was going on under the table.
Mm-hmm.
They kept postponing their reporting.
Yep.
This is a stock that was $122 back in 2024 and is now trading at 20.
$20.
The one thing I'll say is that one of the things I've seen a lot is SMCI is a partner of NVIDIA.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a lot of their ads on X a lot. So I wonder if that relationship gets severed. And one of the things that I will say is I think the biggest beneficiary of this news, I think, is Dell,
Mm.
because I think they play in the same sandbox with SMCI.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if businesses are leaving SMCI,
You gotta be going somewhere.
they got to be going somewhere. And I think either it's going to be Dell. I think another name to think about would be HPE.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's something that I might wanna take a look at is, you know, who are the customers of SMCI going to move to?
Yep.
Because man, the stock was down what, 33% today?
It got smacked. It got smacked
Got
pretty bad.
absolutely smacked. So, and who knows? Maybe they open up a bigger investigation and they find more can of worms under the surface, and it gets
Yeah.
uglier.
They're gonna delist them and get them to shut down.
Yeah. So anybody who, yeah, if you that would be my homework project. It's okay. SMCI is in the hot seat. Where do their customers go for alternatives?
Mm-hmm.
And I would probably say that Dell is an alternative.
Yep.
So I'll be taking a look at that.
Yep. But again, man, that sounds like something out of the sci-fi movie,
Out
man.
of a movie, yeah, for sure.
It's crazy that it's like as a company this big, you would try to do something like that and think you're gonna get away with it. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, not a good look. Not a
Yeah.
good look. And probably going to see some prison time too.
Yeah, absolutely. They're probably gonna label him as a traitor. I don't know. It's gonna enemy of the state. You're not getting nowhere. You're probably gonna be stuck in prison for a long, long time. You better have
Yep.
some good lawyers, I guess. But let's move on to next week economic calendar. We have, let me see what we have going on next week. Next week is Monday, March 23rd. There's nothing really happening. We have construction spending. That's a delayed report at 10 a.m. We have some Tuesday, March 24th. A couple of speakers are speaking. Michael Barr speaks. And then we have Stephen Myron speaks on Wednesday. The import price index is also coming up on Wednesday, March 24th. Of course, we have the initialist jobless claim, and a bunch of Fed speakers are speaking next week, also on Thursday. And then we have consumer sentiments final for the month of March. Nothing really crazy happening next week at all, but I'm going to see what's happening the first week of April. Yeah, we don't really have a lot of stuff happening over the next week. So hopefully it's gonna be a little quiet. But we know that's never the case when it comes to the news coming out of the administrative office. So we'll see what happened over the weekend. Any anything you see that's major that you want to talk about that's coming out next week?
Nah, no major news. I'm just looking at some of these Mag 7 stocks on the higher time frames, and yeah, it's not a good look.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's not a good look for any of these companies. A
yeah.
lot of
The
lot of technical weakness.
yeah. The other thing too, I always advise people is like whenever the week closes, go into the weekly chart and look at how the week closed. That
Oh
will give
yeah.
you a good idea into what you potentially looking at for next week. So that's always a good hack, especially going to the new week. And we almost at the end of the month too. I wouldn't even mind you going to the monthly and seeing how this month ended and how the potential of next month gonna look like. So this is a good time to start looking at the higher time frame and start positioning yourself better that way. Because
Yeah.
we're definitely gonna see some crazy stuff coming up.
Like I'm looking at Nvidia right now on the weekly chart, and you got a bearish three candle that engulfed the last two shooter candles from the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I got a bearish signal, and you also got a 3-1 bearish shooter on the month.
Yep.
Ugh, nasty. Very
Yep.
nasty setup from a technical standpoint. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, don't go out there and think that you getting, you know, y- that you're getting a discount on. I mean, you are getting a discount on stock, but this is not the time to be aggressively buying at this point.
No,
No,
don't be
no, no,
aggressive.
no, no.
Don't be
If you
aggressive at
if
all.
you want to be a buyer, I'd be dipping my toes in there like in very small increments. Like
Mhm.
if you want to invest $1,000 like in a stock, to me, I would break that up into maybe, 20 entries of $50 on red days.
Yep.
That's what I'd be doing right now.
Yep.
Like you
Yep.
got $1,000 in cash, you say I want to buy Nvidia, I'd be deploying it like $50 at a time, maybe even 20 at a time.
Facts.
Yeah, I would not be an aggressive buyer right now. So yeah, just let things play out. Just let things play out and be patient.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I think that those who are patient will be rewarded in the long run, but you just at this point you have to figure out how patient do I need to be. We don't know yet.
Yep. You might need to be really patient by closing your laptop and not looking at it for another few weeks. I don't know. I mean, if you're a long-term trader, I mean, if you're a long-term investor, honestly, like there's there's nothing for you to do right now. You just have to watch and see where the market goes, right? If you're a trader, a scalper, this is probably a good market for you. You can
Mhm.
scalp here and there, get you, a few dollars here and there as you're scalping. If you're a long-term swing trader, it's probably not a good market for you. You probably have to wait for a little bit to see when
Mhm.
exactly when we settle down a little bit. But looking at this, I think we might open up next week. Either we're gonna open up really, really red, or we're gonna have like a consolidation period because this drop was a little too much today.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, don't get fooled by any bullish move. Like
No,
unless
not a chance.
unless unless the move is driven by someone saying that yeah, we're done with Iran and everything is Gucci, I wouldn't trust any bullish move. I'm looking
Yep,
at the VIX. VIX is
yep,
elevated.
yep.
VIX still looks like it's got a little bit more juice in the tank.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm not a fan of what I'm seeing right now. So
Yep,
uh again, be patient. Just let this thing play out. Make your list. Do your research. That's the best thing you can do right now. I heard
yep.
I heard somebody saying that Fidelity said that some of their best performing accounts, you know who those people are? Dead people.
Dead people.
Because they didn't do anything.
Yep, yep. Dead people and people who lost password to their accounts.
And
Like
people who
those.
lost password to their accounts. Those are some of the best performing
Yep,
accounts at Fidelity.
yep.
So again, this is a time where you just sometimes you just might not need to do anything right now. You
Mm-hmm,
know, you don't
mm-hmm.
need to be chasing, you know, things that are getting smacked. You don't need to be chasing, an elevated VIX right now. Be patient. So the time will come where things will turn around, but we're just not there yet. So again,
Yep.
I think the question is sometimes people want to make bold predictions about like when we're going to bottom out and how ugly things are going to get. And that might be cool and all, but to me, that's one way you can get absolutely demolished. So if you just let things play out, because this is how I look at it. If you're a couple days late from the bottom, even a couple weeks left from the bottom, I mean, I'm I'm just gonna look at NQ real quick. So the the liberation drop that we had in NQ was the week of March 31st, 2025, right? Let's just say
Mm-hmm.
you missed the following week, and then you missed the following week, and then you didn't get in until, let's just say, I don't know, the week of April 28th. NQ went from like 19,009 to 26,000. So, you know,
Yep.
you don't necessarily need to like time the exact bottom.
Bottom. Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, you don't need to do that. If
Yep.
you're deploying and dollar cost averaging during that time, and then once you get more confirmation that things look better, then you can be a little bit more aggressive with your buying. But right now, I don't think this is the time to do it.
Yep. Yep. And again, the other thing also you gotta look at is when we have those period of consolidation, like don't do anything during that time because it's just like the market's still trying to figure out which
It's
way to
trying to
go.
figure itself out. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's trying to figure
So
itself out. Yeah.
and those what we call chopping zones, like when it's consolidating, like it doesn't really break any high, it doesn't break any low, it's just like doing just choppy, bouncing between channels. Again, if you're a scalper or like a day trader, I mean, you can make some good money during that time. But if you're like trying to swing something because you see like, oh, a bullish move and you're like, I'm gonna swing something for the next 2 weeks, I'll probably not do that for now. Because you never know when you wake up in the morning what direction is gonna be.
Hmm.
So again, I'm anticipating a lot of chop before we see another move to the downside. Like either that or if we can just get a one big bang over the next couple of weeks and just go back to the levels that I think we're gonna go to, and and be done with it. I think we're gonna see some chops again. I think we're gonna see some consolidation for a little while before we see another move to the downside. So that's just my advice, man. Like be patient, watch this chart, keep an eye on things. If you're a daytime trader, if you're a scalper, go ahead and do your thing. You already know, like scalping and day trading is not as easy as people think it is. You have to be very consistent. You got to be very concise. You got to set up some tight stops. So don't lose, don't go out there losing all your money trying to be a hero. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Shane says, "What's up with credit defaults? Still nothing, failing, falling." I didn't hear any about. I haven't heard about any major defaults in the credit markets at this point. But I'm still looking at spreads, and spreads continue to widen. We're not in the danger zone yet, but we're about, I'd say, 22 basis points, 23 basis points away from an area where I'd say I'd get really concerned. And if we
Mhm.
stay up there, then, but what I keep looking at is spreads will tell you how much risk is priced into the market.
Yep.
And as those spreads continue to widen, that tells you that there's more risk out there. So again, this is not a, don't be Captain Save a stock right now. This is just not the time to do that.
Yep. So it's gonna take time. Again, be patient. Same way we tell you guys like the past couple of weeks. Be patient, be patient. This consolidation is gonna end up picking a side, and today we see it picked a side. So
Yep.
um, let's see what happens over the next couple of weeks. If we're gonna pick a side or if we're just gonna consolidate again for a little while. But with that being said, Wale, you have any other last minute advice, man, going to next week?
No, I think I've given all the information that that people needed. But
Yep.
like I said, we
Yep.
said it last week. We said things don't look good. So hopefully you listened. Hopefully you took advantage of it. And if you did, you're probably sitting really, really, really pretty right now.
Yep.
We talked when we saw I don't know if anybody watched the market action yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
When we saw that quick shoot up, like there was a real strong move that shot up. If you look at where all of the fighting was happening, it was all at that 200-day simple moving average on the daily. If you look at SPY,
Mm-hmm.
you were seeing buyers and sellers fighting. And the moment we closed below that in the after hours, that kind of gave us a signal where things were going to be headed today.
Yep.
And even though towards the end things kind of started to move higher, but we just keep making lower lows and lower highs. And from that market structure standpoint, it's not a market you want to be a buyer in. So
Nope. Not right now.
nope, nope.
Not right now. All right. With that being said, hey, this is your Wall Street rundown for the week. If you're serious about understanding the market, not just watching it, you're exactly where you need to be. We are always going to give you guys the real about what's going on in the market. If you guys pay attention, you might be able to catch a couple of gems here and there. With that being said, I'm Billy, your co-host. I got Wale with me. You guys have a great weekend. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.